Hello everyone, this is Grant Colgan, the Program Manager for the Flywheel Foundation. If you're watching this video, you are interested in learning more about how to pitch for grant funding. There are thousands of different ways to pitch your business, and thousands of different contexts for why you might need to do so. It is always important to adjust your presentation for your specific audience. A lot of this information will be useful for other pitch opportunities, but please keep in mind that this video is tailored to creating a pitch for the grant associated with the Retail Lab Bootcamp. For this program, we ask you to do a 5-minute pitch, and we will cut you off if you go over that, so please keep it within that time frame. Pitching during such a short window can be very difficult, so it's important to make sure that you only include the necessary information during your presentation. Additionally, we will ask you to send your deck in PDF format, which means that you will not be able to use any animations or play any videos to demonstrate your product. Please keep that in mind as you're assembling your deck. Make sure to double check that no formatting changes occurred when converting to a PDF. Printing as a PDF should make sure that this does not happen. So, with all that being said, thanks so much for joining me today. And let's get started with some basic information about pitching. A pitch is a presentation meant to convince an audience to support an idea, business, or project. It can take various forms depending on the purpose. For example, you can think of a job interview as an extended version of a pitch. When you are asked, "Tell me why you are a good fit for this role," you are essentially being asked to pitch yourself. Another common example that may come to mind is what you can see on Shark Tank. This is an investment pitch used for venture capital funding. They are used to secure funding from investors who expect financial returns and equity in a company. In contrast, a grant pitch focuses on getting funding without the expectation of money in return. Grant pitches are made by businesses to gain funding from organizations in hopes that the business will support their mission. A grant pitch must clearly outline how the funds will be used, provide a detailed budget, and show that the money will be spent effectively to help the organization succeed. Now, I'm going to pull up a pitch deck that I will use to demonstrate the fundamentals of pitching. Please note that I adapted this from a deck I made in college. I had lots of help. This is meant to serve as a reference and is not something that you should emulate completely. Like I said, there are 1,000 different ways to pitch your business. So please change the content, structure, and visuals as you see fit to cater to your specific audience. Starting with the introduction slide, we have a visual example of the problem we're solving, as well as the name of the company and any co-founders that you may have. In this specific example, we're talking about granting access, a germ-free door solution. Moving on to the core problem that we're solving, we are focusing on the unsanitary methods used to open a bathroom door, especially the lack of available options for the physically disabled. Moving on to the current options that are currently available, there are handicap buttons, hand towels, hand sanitizer dispensers, and foot pedals. We clearly lay out the different options and why they do not make sense for everyone, especially the physically disabled, and go over their shortcomings. And you also want to make sure that you mention market trends and why there is a need for a new solution in the market. Once you've done that, you can move on to your solution. You want to talk about your unique value proposition, and it really helps to use a visual to help your audience connect with the solution that you're offering. In this specific example, we're using a touchless door activation sensor, which will allow everyone to be able to open bathroom doors, especially those who are in a wheelchair and cannot use foot pedals or do not want to touch ADA buttons after washing their hands. In this point, you want to use storytelling and data points to kind of go over your value proposition and what makes you different than current options. Then you want to move on to your go-to-market plan. For this specific example, we're targeting universities. We did that because they always have a constant influx of new students, and they're always building buildings and are looking to cater to everyone and make sure that their universities are especially accessible. This slide is about describing your ideal customer and what they're looking for in a solution, as well as how you're going to find them. Again, this is a good time to touch on market trends. Moving on, you want to get into the financial feasibility of your business. This is very important because grant awardees want to make sure that you're going to manage their funds correctly. You do not need to divulge any specific financials about your personal information or your business, but it's important to give an indication of your revenue drivers as well as your biggest costs associated with your business. For example, we talked about the price per unit being $220. We talked about the steady growth potential as well as the opportunities for recurring revenue. Moving on, we got into our current status. We talked about our core competencies as well as the available resources such as Virginia Tech, the university that we were launching this out of, but it's also important to get into what you lack. People want to know that you're self-aware and you know your capabilities as well as your shortcomings, and this is a slide where you want to get into what you're able to provide as well as what you still need to be successful. Now we're going to get into the grant allocation. Here's where you want to talk about your budget for using the grant. The more tangible you can get, the better. In this specific example, we're using the money for logo redesigns, money to install a new sign, and money to purchase equipment. These are all great examples of things that you can use the grant for. Some examples that would not be considered eligible for this grant would be payments to yourself, paying off your credit card debt from launching the business, or rent payments. You want to use the money for tangible things that will benefit your business in the short term. Lastly, you want to end on a thank you slide. Be sure to thank your audience for coming as well as invite them to any questions. This is also a good time to re-emphasize any branding or taglines that you really want to stick with your audience. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful as you're preparing your grant pitch. Now I'm going to invite Meg Smith from the Small Business Center at Rowan Community College to come in and share some helpful tips and tricks to getting the most out of your pitch.
Hi friends, Meg Smith here. Wanted to talk about some general tips and tricks so that you can have a strong pitch. For starters, you want to go in with your storytelling hat on. We've all heard you want to come in with a strong hook. And so for you, it's going to be telling the story of your problem and how you're solving it. And when you're telling that story, use an example that also gives listeners a glimpse at your target customer. Remember, you need to know who that customer is, and remember that everyone is not your customer. So really creating this visual, this story that they can connect with, that defines your problem, that explains your solution, and that gives a clear picture of your customer. That's the kind of start that you want to have. These next tips focus on the do's and don'ts with your slides. First off, do number your slides. If somebody has a question about something on a previous slide, it's easier for them to tell you which slide if there was a number down in the corner. So number those slides. You want to make sure that you decrease the amount of texts and words on your slides and increase the size of it. So we want to make it easy to read and not overwhelming. Speaking of reading, don't read from your slides. The slides should be little hooks for the listeners to hang their coats on. You're not giving them all the information on the slide. It's just these little nuggets that connect to the rest of what you're saying. You also want to keep your slide format varied. That way your audience has this visual change from slide to slide, but still cohesive. And then lastly, you're going to want to practice your pitch and memorize those slide transitions. That way, if you kind of get turned around or lost, you know where you are and you don't have that feeling of nerves or of panic, and you can just keep right on going. Last couple of pieces of advice here. Try not to get in the weeds. Sometimes if you're really excited and you know a lot of things about what you do or make, you can end up in the weeds. And the people sitting back listening to you, they might not know all those things or need all those details all up front. So try not to get too in the weeds. You have limited time on your pitch. Be confident. Come in confident and very strong in the unique value that you have. I would also say that on the flip side of that confidence is to take questions and suggestions humbly. Don't go on the defensive during a Q&A time. You're not there to defend. You can always just nod, sometimes pretend to write something down, even if that is advice you don't plan to take. Humility goes a long way. So take advice humbly. And then lastly, breathe. Take lots of time to breathe. There's no need to let your nerves get away from you, especially in the beginning of a presentation. People tend to start out very fast. That's when you want to slow it down, breathe, and speak with clarity. So watch your pacing.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and best of luck as you're preparing for your pitch. If you have any questions about your slide deck or your presentation, please come find me. I did want to mention that after your 5-minute pitch, there will be a 3-minute question and answer session with the scoring committee. So please be prepared for that. And like Meg said, do not get defensive during the Q&A. Just take it all in stride and answer to the best of your ability. So thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions, just come find me. Thank you.